Hi, welcome back to my channel, Scale Model Kit Review Studio. Welcome back to another installment of the DeAgostini build, the 1/6 scale Ford GT500 Mustang. And I said it, 1/6 scale is the largest car out there in the part work realm. So, if you haven't done so already, head over to DeAgostini and subscribe to this build today. I put a direct link down below. Click on that link. Lets DeAgostini know you're watching my videos. Let's get started. Welcome back to Scale Model Kit Review Studio, and welcome back to another fantastic installment for this great car. I'm really enjoying this one, and you can only get this one from DeAgostini Collectibles. This is the build your own Ford Mustang, the 1/6 scale Shelby GT500 from 1967. I received Pack 11. Wow, it's hard to believe we're already on a number 11. 5 more stages, 44 through 48. Now, each stage you get a wonderful magazine, 10 to 11 pages, semi-gloss pages, full of articles. And now we start off with All American in Death Valley. That's really cool there. I really like that. My heart goes out to these Jeeps right here. That's a wonderful Jeep, as a matter of fact. And then we'll be working on the intermediate chassis center cover. I know that's plastic because the other ones have been for the 1/8 scale version of this car. We'll put that in, plus some brake components. Ford GT Roadster, though the Roadsters it is. Wonderful cars. Again, great article there. And that was just a little tidbit of what the magazine looks like. Now let's look at the parts that came with this pack. Stage 44, the intermediate chassis cover. Stage 45 looks like the drive shaft. Stage 46, we start on the gearbox. Stage 47, again on the gearbox. And stage 48, the front of the chassis. Let's get started. Let's begin with 44. Let's look at the instructions for this. Intermediate chassis center cover. There's the parts there. We also received a parking brake line and a hook. We'll go ahead and install that cover on the intermediate chassis and those other 2 brake parts. Let me get the parts. I'll be right back. Here's the parts for 44. PS11, DSO2, and PS14. Here's our small parts. This is the emergency brake component and the hook for the line there, and our intermediate chassis cover made of plastic. Okay, I brought over the chassis. You can see we have the opening in the middle there, and we'll bring the cover over, and that's simply just going to drop down in place, and we'll put our screws in. And I did put in 2 DSO2 screws with some 3-in-1 oil, and they are tight. This is the back part of the panel. And a PS11 screw was used for this. That went in the plastic, so no oil is required. Working my way forward, I put in 4 more screws, and they are the DSO2 screw, one right here and one right here. That's on the side. And then going up even further to the front, put one right there and one right there. And there's no screws that go in on this side. Okay, I turned the chassis over, and we have 2 brake components we have to install. We have to install this hook, and that will go in right here. And then the emergency brake lever mechanism will go into this part right here. And it looks like they just press fit in place. No screws are used for those. very large helicopter flying over, probably a Chinook That is the sound of freedom. And it looks like a screw will go into that. PS14 on the other side. And just have to line up the notch with this when it goes in one way. Just like that. That's how that looks. And there you go. Looks great. Covers installed, the 2 brake components. That completes stage 44. Let's head over and do stage 45. Let's look at stage 45. We're going to install the drive shaft. And there's the parts for that. Should be an easy install. Just like that. Let me get the parts. I'll be right back. Here's parts for stage 45. PSO 5 screws and 2 parts for the drive shaft. They are made of plastic in halves. 3 PSO 5 screws were put into this, and they're going into plastic. Now we'll go ahead and mount this underneath the chassis. Okay, the drive shaft will have to insert into the front of the differential. It will slot into that, and then it will mount down into that hole there. So push that in and then push it down. Okay, it got mounted right here with the PSO 5 screw on the back side, and same thing on the front. There's a PSO 5 screw that holds that in. Right there. And right there. And there you go. That completes stage 45. Let's head over and do stage 46. Alright, so with stage 46 we're going to begin the gearbox. I'm looking forward to this. There's the parts we received. A bunch of hoses and such. And the half of the gearbox itself. And put the hoses in. We'll put the backing mounting plate. Looks like underside mounting plate. Looks like the crankcase cover. Let me get the parts. I'll be right back. Here's the parts for 46. PS28 screws. Here's our gearbox half. Very nice finish on there. A lot of detail. Very nice. Crankcase cover, which is made of plastic. The little mount area in the back, which is made of plastic, and our 3 hoses. And our first hose is in place here, part number 46E, and that just press fit in place. You could super glue it if you wanted to. And the next hose went right here and right here. Next we'll take this plate and we're going to insert it on the end here. You can see it has a pin to line up. There we go. Insert it all the way. That's how that looks. And the last hose to go down is this right here. Runs over here and to the top of that plate we just put in. And the last thing I do is I install some screws on this crankcase cover. These are PS28s, and they tell us do not over tighten them. This is going to allow this cover to get smashed in between the 2 transmission halves. That's all we do for stage 46. Let's head over and do stage 47. Let's get started on stage 47. This time we're going to finish up with the gearbox, and we're going to go ahead and mount that inside of the chassis there on the underside. A lot to going on here. There's our parts. Very cool there, and pretty easy task to mount it up on the chassis there. Let me get the parts. I'll be right back. Here's 47. DSO2, DSO1, PSO5 screws. And we have the bell housing for the gearbox. Very cool, made of metal. The other half of the gearbox. And the cross member for the gearbox. Now we'll go ahead and assemble the gearbox. And you'll notice on this bell housing for the gearbox, it has this item here, and it will line up with the front of the gearbox, just like that. Okay, and we're not done yet. We need to go ahead and grab our cover plate, and we'll slide that in just like that. Now I want to tighten my screws down on that first. Okay, now those screws are tightened down. Now I can bring over my other half of the gearbox and we can line everything up. It looks good. Flip this over, and 2 DSO1 screws will go into this right there and right there. I recommend you go ahead and oil those screws with 3-in-1 oil. And the gearbox is completed. I think it looks great. Let's go ahead and mount this to the chassis. Okay, we'll go ahead and mount the gearbox here. We're going to insert it into the drive shaft, and also we're going to line up these tabs with the holes here. There's one on the front and one on the back. And just carefully insert in there. There's a little bit of play, and it goes right in. Perfect. 2 DSO2 screws will go in on the other side. DSO2 screw went in right here and one right there. Next, the cross member needs to go in, and it only goes in one way. There's an alignment tab here and one right there. So that's going to simply go down just like that. 2 PSO5 screws will go into that on the other side. PSO5 screw went in right here for the cross member and right there. And there you go. Gearbox is in place up against the drive shaft and everything. It looks great. That completes stage 47. Let's head over and get started on stage 48. We're going to install the front of the chassis. Let's get started on the final stage for pack 11. Stage 48. We're going to work on the front of the chassis. I'm going to mount that up. That's going to give us a good idea on how long this car is. Pretty simple task here. Put a few screws in like we did with the other chassis parts. Let me get the parts. I'll be right back. Once again, the chassis comes in a protective box. Let's open this up. Protected again in wax paper. DSO2 screws, and all made of metal. Very nice there. Very impressive. And we'll go ahead and line up the front of the chassis to the intermediate chassis, and it's simply just going to go down just like that on 4 tabs, making sure everything is lined up correctly. 4 DSO2 screws will go into this. 4 DSO2 screws were put in. I did use 3-in-1 oil. There's 2 right there, and on the other side 2 right there. Make sure that it is down all the way, and you can verify that by looking at it from the side and making sure everything lines up here. If that looks good on both sides, you're good to go. And to take my tape measure on this, we got 29 inches front to back. Wow, that's impressive. That completes stage 48. And it's so big it's hard to get it all in on camera, but there we go. Pack 11 is complete. We have the full chassis done. We did a lot to this. Worked on mostly the gearbox with this and the front end. So if you think you'd like to get this for yourself, head over to DeAgostini Collectibles and subscribe to this today. I put a direct link in the description below. This perhaps is probably the easiest part work kit I've put together so far, and it is a lot of fun. Very impressive. If you like my content, please subscribe to my channel and smash that like button. Happy modeling, everybody, and take care.